Okay, just a quick review about the sentence that we diagrammed today in class, and wanted to take a quick look and give you a general overview, and I'd like for you to compare what you have versus what we discuss here, and also to make sure to check your grades in Teacher Ease. All right, so again, the reason I'm providing this video feedback is we're not going to be able to have much time in class because we're going to continue to have very similar types of activities that we had today for the remainder part of the semester. So taking a look at this sentence, you'll notice that it is a complex sentence. What I would do when you have a complex sentence, and any type of complex sentence, regardless of the three types of clauses that could make up that complex sentence, that you begin with the main clause at the top and then bring the dependent clause, the relative clause, subordinating clause, or even a noun clause, bring that down below. Now, I say noun clause. The noun clause could also be inside or embedded within the main clause. But I more specifically, the relative clause and the subordinating clause, I think you can just bring towards the bottom or underneath the main clause. So in this case, we have a subordinating clause, and we'll get to that in a minute. Let's begin with the main clause here along the top. They is the personal pronoun functioning as the subject. We have the verb phrase can determine. We have the modal can and the lexical verb determined. We could also mention that the verb determined, I'm sorry, not determined, but can determine, sorry. The lexical verb in the based form, it's in the simple present. We have the adverbs still and the adverb not just below the verb. And then we have a direct object, date. And we can also label the noun phrase the exact date of the quake. All of that can be considered the noun phrase functioning as the direct object. We have the as the definite article. We have an adjective exact, and we could also label that as an attributive adjective. I'm not going to go into all the possible types of adjectives in that level of detail, but do try to label as much as you can whenever you're doing these exercises. We also have the prepositional phrase of a quake just below date. It's going to function as the adjective. Of is the preposition, quake is the noun or the direct object of the preposition, along with a, the indefinite article. Now, take a look at your work and notice now how you're connecting the main clause, which again should appear along the top, with the subordinating clause that should appear just below it. We want a dotted line, and this is important. The dotted line should begin at the verb can determine. This is because the subordinating clause is really an adverbial clause. All right, so in this case, it's going to be modifying the verb can determine. So we'll need the subordinating conjunction just below the verb, the subordinating conjunction although, and then we start our subordinating clause, beginning with geologists, which is going to be our noun functioning as the subject. We're going to have refined is going to be our verb phrase. We have the auxiliary have along with the lexical verb refined. This is in the present perfect, so we have refined as our past participle of the verb refine. Then we have a direct object, predictions. This is going to be our noun. And then we have studying earthquakes, and this is going to be a participial phrase. Many of you had this as a gerund phrase, and some of you even put the gerund phrase in parentheses along with geologist. And really, we only have one subject in this case. We only have one noun that's functioning as the subject of the verb have refined, and that is geologist. Remember that participial phrases, and in this case it's present participial, but a participial phrase functions as an adjective. Okay, in this case, again, it's in the present participle, but it could also be a past participle. Again, present participles and past participles, any type of participial phrase is going to function as an adjective. That is, it's going to modify either a noun or a pronoun. So again, studying earthquakes is going to be our participial phrase. It's functioning as an adjective, modifying geologist. Which geologists? Those geologists that study earthquakes, right? So again, ask the question which or what to help you determine if it's functioning as an adjective. Now, there is one other possibility, and again, I think the best answer here is the participial phrase, but you could have and I think we saw this a couple of days ago, maybe earlier this week, you could have geologists who are studying earthquakes. And who are studying earthquakes in this case would be a relative clause. And again, it's functioning as an adjective, so it would be below geologist, but we would have an ellipsis. That is the omission of words where we would not have, or we would actually have an X where the subject would be, and we would have an X as in the auxiliary verb are, right? Who are, and then we would have the verb studying. And studying what? Studying earthquakes. So we would have a subject, verb, and a direct object in that case. That would I certainly would accept that. But again, I like what we have here. I think this is the best option. A participial phrase. Again, functioning as an adjective. In this case, modifying the noun. Functioning as a subject. Geologist. Okay. Then we have the prepositional phrase in recent years under the verb. So, maybe a few of you put this prepositional phrase underneath predictions, and I would even probably give you credit for that as well. I think the best answer is the prepositional phrase in recent years functioning as an adverb, answering the question when. But you could argue that you're asking which predictions, those in recent years. Okay, so I would certainly accept both in this case. The word there is going to be our possessive adjective modifying the noun predictions. And I think that's it. So double check what you have. Let me know if you do have any questions. I'm going to post this in our Teams file or our Teams space, Microsoft Teams. And if you have questions, you can certainly post replies to this post that I'm going to share with you today. If you have questions, I think that would be the best way. That way I can make sure that I get to each of your questions. If you need further explanation, again, I want to handle feedback in this way so that all of you have an opportunity to spend some time with what you're doing in class. Because, again, we're not going to have a lot of class for me to provide feedback or explanation. So, again, be looking for these types of videos in the future as we do these similar types of activities this week and next.